What's going on, fam? What's going on, fam? How is everybody doing? I hope everybody is having an absolutely, absolutely wonderful, wonderful. What is this thing doing? I swear. Hey, please, 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 please. Tell me if I sound like a chipmunk and hit that like button. Do them both at the same time if you got to. Okay? I know y'all will get all the way in. Auntie Vet, you know you was sounding, I didn't want to say nothing, but I didn't want to tell you, but you did sound real off. Well, it's a little late now. It's a little late in the game. So I appreciate, listen, I didn't know I could set up a bunch of stuff right in front of me, and I didn't even know I could do it. And you can't see it, can you? I got a bunch of stuff set up right here. Ooh, I feel fancy. Fancy. Anyway, fam, how is everybody doing? Please get your libation. Please get whatever you need to get through the show. Fam, I tell you the truth. I still have not got over this cough. I don't know what it is, whatever the cold or whatever it is, it was supposed to go away. I promise you, I run almost every day. And I still, once I get through, I'm like, it just won't go away. I don't know why. So if somebody got some kind of remedy, please email me at ydcornell@gmail.com or editor@breakingbrown.com. I sure would appreciate it, because this thing has got to go. But fam, listen. I have been looking for a very good, what's the word to say? A very good, hold on one second, please. Ooh, more light. A very good conduit to talk about this thing that we brought into the conversation about lineage, right? And I think I found it. So, for those of you all who do not know, because how would you know? How would you know? Lizzo was playing James Madison's. Is that a flute? It's a flute. The flute is a flute. She was playing Le Flute. Now, I don't mean no disrespect. But this is a problem. And I want to come out, because it's not because she's playing the flute. God bless her. Play the flute all day, every day. Do what you got to do. I don't got no issues with that. My problem is whose flute you're playing. Now, you say, Vet, what's wrong? You know, and I'm going to bring this back up. Because people going to say, Yvette, what's wrong? You don't want us to have no fun. You don't want us to have no fun. Now Lizzo can't play the flute. It's not that I don't want you to have fun. It's not that I don't want you to have any fun. I want you to change your idea of fun. Let me tell it again. It's not that I don't want you to have fun. I want you to change your idea of fun. Because let me tell you, this goes all the way back to this whole debate. You know, shout out to Antonio. He tipped off, he triggered this whole debate about, and this boycott of the Woman King. And I was in there and he was in there and listen. But he did it with his show first, right? And the problem that Lizzo is having in terms of going and picking up James Madison's flute is the same way that we can't understand that we don't come from the homie. There is a lineage confusion here with the James Madison flute, and from Negroes in America, American Negroes deciding that they have to, in order to have value, they have to come from cannibalistic kind of tribes. That's a problem. Lizzo, it's a problem given what we know about James Madison for you to proudly play that flute, and it's a problem for us to think that we have some kind of lineage confusion or delusion, however you want to call it. You can call it what you want, but it's problematic. I don't care what you call it. So let's talk a little bit about, because in terms of the founders and all that stuff, James Madison is very interesting to me because I think he most closely aligns with the white leftists of today, the people of color leftists of today. He most closely aligns with the liberals of today, whether they be white, people of color, or otherwise. He aligns with this kind of, how can I put it? aligns with, somebody said Tone did that thing and he ain't finished. But James Madison aligns with this idea that justice is in theory and theory alone. Well, what do you mean, Yvette? No, there is this idea amongst liberals and leftists. I used to think they were different. They're not. That justice is a theoretical thing that has to be worked out in papers and letters and journals, but it is not something to be exercised in the white life. And that has extended to the people of color life. It is something that we are supposed to be moan and feel bad about. So let me just show you, that's what they do. They, well, it should be better and take time and be a very accommodationist. And, well, I feel a way. I'm torn apart on the inside, but I'm not going to do nothing to really kind of effectuate change for the Negro on the outside. Okay? So let me just show you a little bit. If you don't believe me, just believe this. Let's go to a little bit of from James Madison himself. Okay? Because he had some things to say. And they say some about what he said. I don't see the other thing. No, that's not here. That's a different thing. But let me just go here. It is simplistic. Hold on a second. Let me see. Okay. Because it overlooks, and we're going to get into what they're talking about. And they're talking about how people see Madison as one thing and he's another thing. And then they get into it's simplistic because it overlooks harder to categorize positions like that of Madison, the lead drafter of the Constitution, who genuinely rejected the idea of racial inferiority, yet still failed to put his beliefs in equality and liberty into practice. And it is misleading because it implies that as long as we avoid having racist attitudes, we can succeed in avoiding racist policies. We think that if we're not Jefferson, we must be Hamilton. But this is not the case. And let me tell y'all, I blame that Hamilton play. I blame that Hamilton play for everything. It was trash. I ain't got no problem saying it. Who gonna judge me? I ain't got no problem saying it. I blame it for this thing that it does. But this is right. And this is what, if there were any kind of framer, founder, whatever, who I would say led the way for this to be what it is today, in terms of led the way for American whites to feel like, well, it's all in the hearts and the minds, and I don't feel you as no lesser than. But then you go into the voting booth and you would never approve reparations. You oppose the voting rights. You oppose to everything that impacts me. But you will say, well, I don't believe you're less than me. You understand, right? I don't, that's not what I think. My heart is okay. I think Madison paved the way for that. And I don't think you get to play that flute. I don't think you should want to play that flute. I think you should say, listen, it's a pretty flute. That flute look nice. It's cute. Got a little glass on it. It's real nice. I don't want to play that flute. I think you will have a very hard time getting someone else who understood and was anchored in their tribe to play that flute. If you don't believe me, let me just read a little bit from this article, a little bit more from this article about Mr. Madison. In this respect, Madison is the founding father who can teach Americans the most about our present contradictions on race. Madison insisted that enslaved Africans were entitled to a right to liberty and proposed that Congress purchase all the slaves in the United States and set them free. Yet not only did he hold slaves on his plantation in Virginia and failed to free them upon his death, he also originated the notorious 3/5 compromise in the Constitution, which counted a slave as 3/5 a person for purposes of legislative representation. So yeah, you kind of believe it, but in terms of practice, that's not really what you do. We're still here. America is his legacy. America is Madison's legacy. I'm not saying it's not the other people too, but it's absolutely him. The tension between Madison's aspirational beliefs and his highly constrained actions continues to be America's own tension. Like Madison, contemporary United States society rejects racial inequality in principle, But also, like Madison, a majority of Americans, as reflected in our democratic institutions, are ultimately unwilling or unable to make the costly changes that would be necessary to achieve equality in practice. What he's saying is, like, when we talk about reparations, right? We might say, white people, y'all got to give up something. Maybe it's just your tax. You got to pay more taxes because of what America did. What happens is people who say, oh, you know, I think you're equal. I love you. I love you. American Negro. Edas Negro. They will say, I love you so much. And we say, okay, let's put that love into action, shall we? What does it look like as action? Well, I don't think I should pay no more taxes for it. I love you in my heart of hearts. Yeah, that's a kind of Madisonian way of, I love you in my heart, though I don't feel you're less than. Well, can you pay me in the same way Native Americans have been paid, Jewish Americans have rightfully been paid? Can you? No. That's Madison. I own slaves, but I feel that they're not inferior. And I feel that they should be sent back to Africa. Oh, you didn't know Madison said sent back to Africa. Lizzo, there will be no Lizzo. There will be no you, Lizzo, with Madison, because you will be in Liberia. And we know the Negroes did all the wrong things when they went to Liberia. They tried to become their own white supremacists in Liberia. That was awful. But it was only a few of them. So those of you who are trying to use that and say, y'all was white supremacists too, it was only a few people went over there and they almost died. And they figured out the error of their internalized white supremacist ways or whatever they were trying to do over there. But I'm tired of you all. I know you all saying, like, y'all don't know. Y'all was in Liberia. It wasn't y'all. It was like 25 people, whatever. But this is what James Madison wanted to do. Let me put the Negroes over here, right? I'm going to stick them over here now. And they can't be here. So if it had been up to Madison, we would have built a country, but not have been able to access the fruits of it, because you build a country and then we get sent back to Africa. That's the flute you were playing, Lizzo. Okay. Let me go to another quote. Just to kind of frame it out for you. Let's go. Most of what can be learned about Madison's racial attitudes is found in letters of his that remain largely unexplored. In one astonishing document written in see what I mean? Good night. 1783, he explained to his father that he faced a quandary with respect to an enslaved man named Billy, whom Madison had brought with him to Philadelphia as his manservant while he was in Congress. Madison wrote that he could not bring Billy back to the family plantation because Billy, because after Billy had experienced the relative freedom of Pennsylvania, his mind is too thoroughly tainted to be a fit companion to fellow slaves in Virginia. He sees freedom, so now you can't expect Billy to be the slave Billy of Virginia. He done been to Pennsylvania. He done tasted freedom. So I cannot expect him to be that. That's what he said. I'm not playing that man's flute. Listen, I'm an American. I have every right to accept, but I have a right to say no because of how he believes and what he believes. I'm not playing that flute. I'm just telling you. Let's go to the next one. Madison felt he could not free Billy because he could not afford to. So wait a minute, y'all tell me, let's pause for a second. I thought y'all told me that, you feel away, and y'all said Madison didn't feel that we were inferior. You can't, hold on. You can't tell me that you don't believe I'm inferior or that the Negro is inferior and then tell me you couldn't free Billy. If we're not inferior, that means we're not to be enslaved and you should not own Billy or nobody else. Oh, okay. Oh, but Yvette, no, no, you see. I'm not playing that flute. Lizzo, don't play that flute. You was over there. This is history, y'all. I'm the Pied Piper. Don't play that flute. So let me go on. Let me go back to it. His compromise was to sell Billy into a term of indentured servitude. Why am I not surprised? Well, if you can't be a slave, you're gonna be in indentured servitude. That's what you're gonna do. As allowed by Pennsylvania law, at the end of which he would become free. Madison therefore got some value for his slave while satisfying his conscience. And that's how they play this game, baby. They get some value for you while satisfying. Well, I feel I did better than a lot of people, so I don't know how you could say that about me. I did better than most of these white slave owners around here. Billy was indeed freed, taking the name of William Gardner, marrying and staying in Philadelphia, where Madison continued to have contact with him for years. I got questions about Billy, but let me go on to the next part. Madison understood perfectly well that slavery was morally wrong and why, but he could not overcome the economic reality on which his entire livelihood and that of the family plantation was based. You heard the man. Yeah, slavery is wrong. Yeah, I don't believe that the Negro is inferior, but guess what? I need that to have wealth. That's the same thing you have here. Yes, I do believe that slavery is wrong. Yes, I do believe that the Negro should not be enslaved. I believe all of that, but I need to maintain a life for myself. I don't even want to really compete with the Negro because I know if I allow them to compete, they got a lot of stuff they done got bottled up and they gonna outrun me. I don't want to deal with none of that. Yes, I believe the Negroes should be free, but guess what? I don't want them next door to me buying a house near me. Yeah, they should be free. They absolutely are not inferior. But guess what? I don't want to pay another $5,000 or whatever a year for them to be paid reparations. So really, your freedom or what you say is supposed to be Negro freedom does not mean anything. You are a hypocrite. And James Madison was that. That's what he encompassed in his life was hypocrisy. The white hypocrisy we see on the left and on the liberal side and the left is the same thing. Yes, that's what I believe in theory. I don't believe, you know how they say, they have the ones, I don't believe, I think the American way of life is awful. And then you say, well, where you live at? I live in Manhattan in a $1 million condo, but you know, that doesn't mean anything. Wait a minute, what? Well, we're just working out theoretical problems here. I don't have a problem with wealth per se. What he said? Y'all remember the article came out about the leftist guy who was living in a $1 million house in California? Then the Jacobin guy was he's a leftist. He's a real leftist who came out against reparations. He's living in New York City somewhere in a real nice apartment, swanky, talking about Marxism. This is their way. This is what they do. They talk a little game. They get the Negroes. Say, I'm leftist too. That's why I left leftism. I said, this don't make no sense because it's not racial. It's non-racial. People say, oh, we caught you at a contradiction. I used to be a lot of things. I have a brain. I move on. You should move on from bad ideas. Some people could learn from it. Some of y'all could learn to move on from. When you have a bad idea, don't keep it. Don't hold on to it. Just throw it away. So let's just go on with Madison for just a little while. We're not going to go on too long on him. At the Constitutional Convention in 1787, the tables were turned. Southerners wanted to count slaves fully to increase their legislative representation, while Northerners argued that slaves who couldn't vote should not count at all. The 3/5 compromise was adopted precisely because everyone knew that the number had been used when both sides saw things the other way. Madison was happy to have it adopted. But that's your flute, Lizzo. I don't know what to tell you. There was also the issue of the constitutional provision that preserved the slave trade for 20 years after ratification. Madison objected strongly to it. Like other slaveholders, he considered trade in slaves more odious than ownership. Yet it became clear that South Carolina and Georgia, backed by Connecticut, insisted on protecting the slave trade as a condition for agreeing to the Constitution. Madison went along. Reaching consensus was paramount. Without the guarantee of slavery and the slave trade, there would be no Constitution. And that was Madison's highest priority. Child, the highest priority was the country. It was not you, and it still ain't you. That's what they tell us all the time. Well, ain't that what they say all the time to us? Well, we really wish we could, but it's those persnickety Republicans. Those Republicans always get in the way. We want to. We really want to help you Negroes, but even when they have a majority, but the Republicans always get in the way. Oh, we got some centrist Democrats are getting in the way too. Oh, we really wish we could help you Negroes. We can't, but y'all come out and vote, please. But vote blue no matter who, because we always try to help you. But you got Cinema and Joe Manchin, and you say you try to help me, but we really do, little Negro. But you got to show up and vote. Do you have a little pencil? Do you have a little pencil to put in your thing? They're gonna give you a little card, little Negro. Do you have it? It's the same. Madison set this precedent. I got a couple more, and then I'm going to be done with Madison. But I think you're starting to see why you shouldn't have his flute. Are we not? Okay. Further demonstrating the tension between his beliefs and his action, Madison called for abolition, but only in private. That's what they do. They have dinner with you and say, I believe the same thing you do. I believe in reparations a bit. Well, can you say that publicly? No, I can't. That's what they do. In 1790, just after drafting the Bill of Rights, Madison argued in a letter for creating a colony in Africa to resettle freed slaves. That would, he said, afford the best hope yet presented of putting an end to the slavery in which not less than 600,000 unhappy Negroes are now involved. Now, see, we're not involved. We captured by Africans and white people. Ain't nobody involved. We're not involved in slavery. This is not something that we decided. We are not involved, okay? If we had been involved, we would decide not to do it. We are not involved. His reason for sending former slaves to Africa was the prejudice of the whites. Well, we got to send them back. We can't change the whites and their racism and the sickness of them. We just got to send them back to where they came from after they built everything over here, right? They built the richest country. We send them home. They not home. That's not home. Okay, well, I don't care if it's home. Send them over there because I'm going to send you away just because the whites is bad. So let me start over because My goodness. His reason for sending former slaves to Africa was the prejudice of the whites, which would make integrating free blacks impossible. He thought that because prejudice derived principally from the difference of color, it must be considered as permanent and insuperable. Years later, Madison proposed that Congress sell the public the West lands included in the Louisiana Purchase to raise $600 million to purchase and free all 1.5 million slaves. But ultimately, Madison could not afford even to free his own slaves in his will. You talked all that trash and you couldn't free your own slaves, Madison? Okay, I got you. According to family lore, he left separate instructions to Dolly, his wife, to emancipate his slaves upon his own death. If this message in fact existed, she was unable to fulfill it. Because nobody freed. What? What are you saying? And guess what? His children ain't changed. They had this whole thing where they decided to come. We're gonna have Negroes at what do they call it? What was it? Montpelier. They said we're gonna have Negroes here, and they're gonna be shareholders in all of this. It's not just gonna be us. And guess what happened? Let me show you. Look at what he owned. Like, that's beautiful today. Ooh, you gotta understand what these people. Yeah, he want to give all that up. A slaveholding president's estate faces a modern racial controversy. Let me just tell you why it is before we get into it. The whites over there at his home, Madison's, whatever. They said, we're gonna bring some Negroes in. The descendants And then they said no. They said, we changed our mind. To the point to where the editorial board had to say, this is trash. Like, you gotta really think about that. You gotta really think about who has to come in. And this is from, and I just want to put this up from the this is from the American Colonization Society, where they was going, well, when Madison, everybody's gonna send us back to Africa. You be over there in Liberia if Madison had his way. You would be playing no flute, Lizzo. So you don't understand lineage enough to understand you're supposed to have some pride in lineage. You're supposed to say, no, my people went through this. I'm not playing this flute. I'm American. And I'm not going to be disrespectful, but I'm not playing this flute. You're not supposed to just show up and jolly around with it. Like, what's wrong with you? Honestly, what's wrong with you? Because I'm just trying to figure out. I don't mean no disrespect. I'm just trying to figure out what's wrong with you. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with you, Lizzo. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with our organizations. I'm trying to figure out I'm trying to do a whole diagnostic here. Because I want to come back here real quick and I want to tell you a little bit about what happened to this estate. Okay? For most of his 2 decades overseeing the sprawling Virginia estate of James Madison, the 4th U.S. president, the Montpelier, I can never pronounce that foundation, had either 0 or just 1 African-American member of its governing board, whose authorized strength is 25 members. That was astonishing because Montpelier, in addition to being Madison's property, was also home to some 300 enslaved people over the course of more than a century who lived and worked in bondage and died there. So what happened? So it was a momentous, if overdue, step forward last year when the foundation announced it would share power equally and achieve parity on its governing board of directors with descendants of enslaved people. Those descendants were represented by a committee recognized by the foundation that included dozens of prominent African Americans in academics, business, finance, and other fields. At last, Montpelier a 2,650-acre historic site and museum northeast of Charlottesville that annually hosts tens of thousands of visitors, would have leadership that reflected its legacy. The foundation's decision was hailed by cultural institutions across the country. Well, what happened? Tell us what happened. Now the agreement in letter and in spirit has been shredded by the foundation's white-dominated board. In an act of exceptionally bad faith, the board last month amended its bylaws so that it and not the committee it had recognized as legitimate stakeholders representing descendants of slaves will decide which descendants are acceptable partners. Ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo. To put it plainly, it is principally white people who will determine which black people may join Montpelier's governing clique and which may not. Well, it's in line with that's who he is, ain't he? Ain't that who Madison was? Come on now. Let's not play games with each other. Despite its smokescreen of obfuscation, the foundation says it will continue to work with the Descendants Committee and seek parity. Make no mistake, the board has reneged on its deal. When the Descendants Committee last month submitted a list of 40 African American candidates, of whom 10 might assume seats on the board in order to achieve parity with white members, the board refused even to consider the names. It did so despite having committed last year to accept new board members endorsed by the Descendants Committee. It said, child, we ain't doing all that. And listen, that's the legacy, child. So what I'm trying to figure out, if you know this is Madison's legacy, and his family is still his family in terms of how they behave and what they do. Not only about the enslaved people they had, I don't even call them slaves that they had. I know that upset some of y'all. So be it. They still the same people. And you going to go over there and play the flute. Knowing what you know. You're going to go over there and do this. See, this is a problem for me. And it lets me know that, like, there's no lineage pride, for lack of a better word. There is no ancestral pride. You have more pride for Madison than you have for the people who were enslaved by Madison. That's why you shouldn't be carrying that flute. That's why you shouldn't play that flute. Hey, listen, I understand the invite or whatever the case may be. I know you got a lot of flutes up there. I'd like to play a lot of them. But I'm not playing Madison's out of respect for my people and the people that he enslaved. Even though he said he was opposed to it and he said we were not inferior, he still said he wanted to send us to Liberia and he held slaves. So that's not a flute I want to play. But see, we don't have any kind of ancestral pride. We would rather be, everybody can be mad, I don't really care. We would rather be the slave owner than the slave. I said it. We would rather be the slave owner than the slave. I don't care whether it's white people or the homie. We wish to be the slave owner. Now, let me tell you, the slave has the moral high ground because we were mistreated. The slave owner is convicted. And you don't know what convicted means on a spiritual, religious level. Go look it up. I ain't got time to preach to you today. But the real villain in this story is the slave owner. But we have, listen, there is something not quite right with us. We have a desire to be the slave owner. That's why we have no problem with it. How do you go and play that? Well, we don't want to be no white slave. We don't have no desire. Why you go play the flute then? Why you go, if you don't have no desire for that, no desire for that, why are you playing that flute? If you don't have any desire to be the slave owner, why are you on TV talking about we are the homie, Viola? If you don't have no desire to be the slave owner, why are you grunting? We are the homie. Right? You want to be something that you are not. There are people in our group that live in a fantastically ridiculous mind space that is like a child. When I think of them, I think of children saying, I want to be you know what I want to be when I grow up? I want to be a veterinarian. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a pilot. That's fantastical. But children are supposed to be fantastical. Eventually, they'll figure it out. Some of y'all are grown and have not figured it out. Y'all seen it online. Going around talking with the homie. Listen, the homie, they weren't black. Well, they just black. They black people. So we take pride. They were not black. Understand what blackness is. Understand my problem with blackness has always been that blackness is something that your oppressor came up with. White people decided what blackness is. That wasn't you. And then you came out and said, I'm black and I'm proud. Somebody's going to give you something and cover you in something that means oppression. They mean it to mean you're degenerate and you're going to wear it for pride. No, you say I'm not what you say I am. You say I'm black, but I'm brown, I'm tan, I'm yellow, I'm whatever. I'm not black. You take that back. So blackness was something that was put on us by them, right? And then y'all gonna say, well, the homie was black. They were not black. There was no idea of black. Blackness exists inside of whiteness or inside of some other normalized race, whatever it is. But blackness exists in contrast to whiteness, not on its own. That's why Africans come and say, I didn't know I was black until I got here. You doggone skippy. Because in a country where everybody is black, there is no blackness. The otherization takes place in terms of tribalism. So you all have lesser tribes, which is still horrible because the homie buried people alive and when it was cannibals and it was genocidal, it was horrible. I don't know how you would take pride in them people, but get your stuff off, right? I don't know how you would do it, but they were not black. Blackness happened over here. Why do you think there was no inferiority with blackness? Why do you think the Europeans traded, did business with them? There was no blackness. Those are not your people. Africans will tell you, listen, we don't have no cohesive Africanness here. And Africans will say that, listen, we're not responsible because there was no cohesive Africanness at that time. There was no idea of African. And y'all will still go around like, we still African. They just told you there was no African. They just told you it was no such a thing. And you ain't never been over there saying, well, we was African. You were not African. You are not black. There was no Africanness, no blackness. That's why they were snatching people up and giving them to the white people. Because that kind of, well, we all African, we black, there was no blackness. Blackness exists in contrast to whiteness or something else. There may be some other cultures where it existed in contrast, where Africanness existed in contrast to Latino-ness or whatever. I don't know. But it has to exist in contrast. It doesn't exist on its own. In a country where everybody is black, nobody is black. In a country where everybody is black, nobody is black. Because black means degeneracy, oppression, and somewhat to put in place and house the failure. Nobody was black. They were not black. They were Dahomey. They were not you. They were not me. They were the villains of our story, and they should be treated as such. And just like we can't see them as Dahomey and not black, some of y'all can't see, like Lizzo can't see the like, oh, this person is a person who opposed and oppressed my lineage. I don't care if they were founding fathers or whatever. I'm not saying you got to go to the Capitol and protest them, but you shouldn't play the flute. Some of this stuff is just not as complicated as some people make it. Some of y'all want, like, you know how people get like brain transplants? Some people need like, they think they want, like, the best way I can describe it is like a lineage transplant. I am this, but I don't want to be connected to a slave. Your whole life is a slave life. You don't understand how we've been oppressed? Where do you think that comes from? You think that comes from being, I am the homie. You think the homie? No. The homie is the villain in this story. That's it. But you want something else. You what they say in The Wire, that line? You wish it was one way, but it's another. Ain't that what Marlo said? And that's another stupid argument people kept coming out with. Well, y'all like drug dealing movies, but y'all don't like. First of all, I hate drug dealing movies. If 50 Cent ever flip another brick, I'm just gonna fall over. I'm so tired of him and these little stars movies. I don't know what to shows. I don't know what to do. People say, well, y'all like The Wire. Listen, there were no heroes in The Wire. There were none. We saw all of the depravity. We saw all of the addiction. We saw all the poverty. There were no heroes. And I'm tired of people like, well, when I sold drugs, you shouldn't talk to me. Don't talk to me as somebody who sold drugs. Don't talk to me. We're not in the same class of people. I'm sorry. You may feel a way. I don't care. And stop defending the homie as a drug dealer. Who told you to get online and do that? There were no heroes in The Wire. People liked The Wire because it reflected ghetto life and hood life and the risks and the violence. It was accurate. That's it. People felt that it was accurate. The everything from the Baltimore accents, all of that, except for Idris Elba. I always got that British accent. But for everybody else, people say, hey, it really reflects life. No, there were no heroes. Y'all are trying to make the villains into the heroes, and that only happens when you don't understand lineage. And when you're trying to replace your lineage, let me tell y'all, I don't know who need to hear this, Viola, whatever. You don't need no tribe, child. Especially not a savage, cannibalistic tribe that buried people alive. You don't need none of that. That's the kind of stuff that led to slavery and led to selling slaves to Europeans. You don't need none of that to be made whole. Stop trying to be that. They are actually the villains. You don't need... Let that go. It's some stuff in life you got to let go. Everything ain't about what you learn. Some stuff is about what you're willing to let go of. You should oppose that flute. Right? You should oppose anybody who wanted to send you back to Africa. If somebody walked you in and said, we're going to send you back there, what would you say? I ain't going to my home. Okay, say it to James Madison then. Well, yeah, I appreciate it, but I'm going to have to decline. And we don't even understand. I'm going to just put this. I'm not even going to get into it. I was going to get into it. I'm not even going to get into it. They still writing these articles about Evanston. And the thing about this article is I see that there's a rewrite happening. So the rewrite is, well, it's not reparations. Reparations got to be something big. But this is something to at least keep people in their houses. I don't know who y'all think y'all talking to, but I see the sleight of hand. The reason y'all made news is because you said it was reparations. Now all of a sudden, It's not reparations. It's just to keep people in their house. That's a local revitalization project. But we don't even understand, like, if you have an org, we have who we are as ADOS. We don't really want to understand our lineage. We have orgs that say they're going to do reparations. They give you a dishwasher, right? Or help you put up a fence. There is no kind of connection between the fact that, first of all, we're not the homie. We are ADOS. We're in this country. We're otherized. We're made into something other than whiteness. That's why they created blackness, to make us degenerate. Okay, now we got to come out of that and get reparations. And then we let the people who say they're going to help us get us dishwashers. And nobody makes a connection with bingo balls. Like, we don't even understand when our organizations are failing. So I totally understand we don't understand that Lizzo made the we don't even understand when our organizations are failing. We have whole organizations that get money from, Evanston's gonna get money from cannabis. We got whole organizations that are getting money from foundations that are giving $750 a month to immigrants from the money they have gotten from organizations and foundations through grant, UBIs, right? They can do that and give money. Hey, let's see how this works out. Because pilot programs are supposed to lead to real programs. And we don't even understand that like this, if you have a program where you're getting foundation money or whatever you're doing and you're giving money to immigrants who just got here, if they're getting $750 a month and I'm getting a dishwasher and I built the country, and I suffered through this country, we don't understand that like that's a problem. That like this means this organization has failed. You should just say NCOBRA and everything Evanston's doing is a failure. But see, we don't like to call a failure unless it involves Yvette. Right? We don't like to call that. Like, we'll say in a minute. But you don't want to say, yeah, you know what? NCOBRA, Evanston's reparation program is a failure. Let's call it. Let's call it time of death. You don't want to do that. You don't want to say, well, you know, Lizzo, yeah, that flute, that was some silly mess. You don't want to say that. But you got to do that. You can't keep doing this, hear me, family. You can't keep doing this thing, well, at least he tried. At least she tried. Because that means nobody's getting held accountable for what they do. People have to get held accountable for what they do and what they don't do, for what their wins and their failures. You can't just say, well, everybody got a right. Everybody got a right to do whatever they want to do. And my name is Cool for Cocoa Puffs. No. You just can't do it that way. You have to say Evanston is not reparations. It's a failure. And now that you're out front and not calling it reparations, and you read the article that I put up a second ago, what they're saying is it's not reparations. It's just something to help people stay in their homes. It's something to help black people stay in their homes. Well, that's not reparations. And somebody should say you all misrepresented what this is and what this was for your own benefit. And somebody should say if we can give immigrants who just got here $750 a month, we can give ADOS who built the country, not just in Evanston, but we can give them cash payments. It shouldn't be a problem. If we can give Native Americans free education in California, we can absolutely do that for Negroes in California. And that should have been a part of the California Reparations Commission. And it absolutely can happen if it's organized right and if it's done right. And we have to be willing to say, hey, I don't have no hard feelings about you or nobody else. I don't know you. But this is not done right. And this is a problem. And it can't be a situation where if Yvette does it or whatever, I can say something bad about it, but everybody else is just going to say they can try. That's a double standard. It's a double standard for Lizzo. It's a double standard for me. It's a double standard for NCOBRA. It's a double standard for the Evanston Round Table or whatever they're calling themselves these days. It's a double standard. And it's highly problematic. You have to understand what lineage is, and you have to fight for your own lineage. And that fight cannot be just some kind of cathartic, I'm going to holler because I like hollering. We all just going to go out and organically do stuff. Ain't no leader. The code is the leader. We all outside jumping around and hopping. No. that means you expect something to organically happen in the community. Nothing organically happens. Leadership happens. Or you don't have anything. You ever seen somebody go to war without a leader? We all gonna go outside and throw bombs and just mess them up. You ain't got no plan? No, we don't need no plan. The code is the plan. Watch them get mollywopped. And if we don't have a standard on what lineage is, that's how Lizzo gets out there and nobody sees a problem with it. That's how Everson does what they do and nobody sees a problem with it. That's how our own orgs fail and everybody says, well, they tried. Well, they're giving people dishwashers and some of the people died and it's got to go through orgs. Well, you know, it's something. Bingo balls. Why you talking about it? It's something. Everything is something, child. If it ain't air, it's something. What that mean? You have to have pride in your own lineage. And you know, the craziest thing about it is, I don't see a lineage that people should be more proud of than being ADOS. I really don't. Like, not only did we build the country, and we have endured in this country. We have endured everything in this country. Everything is thrown at us for 400 plus years. Not only that, we have contributed so much to the culture of this country. There's so much to be proud of. I would not want to trade that for James Madison's family or I am the Dahomey's family. I would not want that kind of barbarism to be associated with me, especially if blackness didn't exist. I would not try to trade one end for the other. I would never do it. But until we understand and appreciate our lineage, we'll never be able to fight for it and stand up for it. And stand against people who would love for us to trade some kind of fictionalized idea about who other people were against who we actually are. We actually are heroes. Been on the right side of everything. It is what it is. Dahomey is actually villains. Madison was actually a villain. He may not look like it, but he was. We aren't. So the last thing I'll say is, like, take pride in who we actually are. We are the heroes of the American story. All these other people are villains. People who sold you into slavery are villains. People who said, well, you know, I would free him, but, you know, he might like it a little bit too much. They're villains. We are the heroes of the American story, and y'all keep trying to throw it away. For what and for who? So, anyway, fam, give me as usual, give me a few minutes to set up the phones. If you want to call in, I'll be right back. Yeah, and we can have a conversation if you want. Okay? If you don't, no disrespect. All right, fam, I'll be right back. right. We're going to take a couple calls and we're going to get out of here. Let everybody finish their libations and go to bed. I'll leave the number up here, though. Let me go to 678. 678, what's your name, where you calling from, and what's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, this is Mike from College Park again. How you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
I've been doing good. I'm doing good. So I'm listening to the show, and you said James Madison, fourth president, and I'm thinking about Bill of Rights, Constitution, and it's likening to like what's going on in corporate America now. You have a couple of Negroes at the top. They have the couple of Negroes at the top and say, hey, these Negroes have gotten in. I don't know what's wrong with the rest of these Negroes, but y'all need to work a little bit harder, do this and do that. And I see black celebrities being those Negroes, kind of the people they use at the top. Like Tone called them the decadent belle, but they're more like the black blindfold for the rest of us, because it's like we feel like we see them like, oh, we got to do better. Jay-Z doing this and Jay-Z doing that. And it's like, they're using them. We're the cannon fodder of what they're doing. It's easy for other people to step in and say, y'all need to do this. Y'all need to work harder. Y'all need to do this, because people don't understand the history of this country and how they've used us and how they use, not us not knowing the history against us. So when you get people like Lizzo who's, I just want to be famous, I want to play in front of these people, she's not looking at how bad that looks. That's almost like you playing one of the Third Reich's, the Jewish people playing one of the Third Reich's flutes over in Germany, saying, oh, no, we'll play the flute. They would never do that.
Yeah, like, it's a nice flute. It's a nice flute.
It's crystal. I understand. But it's something that we should start taking this so seriously, just like the Jewish people do. We have to take our history seriously, because, like they said, if you don't know your history, do not repeat it. I see it's coming back to us now, because a lot of us are looking up to these celebrities, not understanding that they're, I don't say the dumbest among us, but they're the worst among us, in the sense of they're put on a pedestal, and we looking up to them, not understanding that they're not the ones that we should be looking up to. The best of us are the ones who are working at the bottom we don't pay attention to.
Let me ask you a question,
like
man.
you.
Let me ask you a question.
Sonia.
Who are the bigger prostitutes, celebrities or politicians?
In this day and age,
tough, ain't it?
They're about the same. Because you think about it, you got politicians who trying to be famous.
Ooh.
Listen. You think about it. You got AOC out here. I'm not even in New York. I'm tired of hearing about this woman. I want to see some changes. And y'all are talking about, oh, we getting arrested up here. Listen, we got people. I don't know if Jackson still got no clean water. Like you told that dude the other day, don't drink that water. I ain't drinking that water either. Right?
Can't. I wouldn't.
Don't
touch it.
I don't understand why we don't see. I guess we don't see the veil over our eyes. But there's a saying I always use. I always tell people, don't let your ego get in the way of your education. That has been something we've done for a long time. We keep letting we have this pride, not understanding that pride is the downfall. You know what I mean? Look at the generation before, the boomer generation, that pride, look how far that pride is taking us away from where we're supposed to be at.
That's true.
They just want recognition. Oh, I did this, and Martin Luther King. I don't believe you. I don't know. The way you acting now, I don't believe you.
You got to show me a picture. Don't tell me you marched with King. If you can't tell me a picture, you didn't march with King.
You get what I'm saying? Listen, I look at, we have so many people now who are just want to be in the spotlight that they don't care about what really happens to their people. And that's a problem. That's a problem. Because in 2022, we should not still be talking about stuff that people were talking about in 89, in 69, or whatever. We're still having the same issues that people were having back in the 60s. If you really want to be honest about, we're talking about employment, we're talking about, unemployment, any of that. When you look at our communities, they're still in dire need of so much. And we'll put people in place and we say, we're going to vote these people in. Just like you were talking about, oh, come vote for us. Come do this, come do this. Let me tell you something. stop coming and telling me to vote for you. And when I ask you for help, you ain't nowhere to be found. But when it's time for you to come around for the vote, hey, no, where were you at last year? Where were you at last year? You know, exactly. I'm tired of it. Listen, you in Georgia like me, and I was, the first time Stacey Abrams ran, I was thinking about voting for her, and I think I wrote you email and said, listen, Yvette, I respect you. I cannot vote for this woman because she don't have nothing specific at Adolph, right? And I felt guilty in a sense, but I said, I can't do it. This second go around, she came around, she said, she told black men that we need to vote for her because without her, we can't win Georgia. I was about to tell her, listen, with us, I think with us, you couldn't win Georgia right now. Because, let's just be honest. You know, I was up in the...
Damn, he said with us, I don't think you can. I don't think it's coming. I'm sorry, fam. I'm sorry.
I was in Blue Ridge about 2 weeks ago, and I ain't seen not one Stacey Abrams sign, okay? And let me tell you, if everybody talks about Atlanta and Stacey Abrams, say, y'all keep talking about Atlanta. Georgia has been a red state my whole life. These people ain't changed out here. You go down certain places, you're going to see rebel flags. You go up north, you see rebel flags. You go down south, you see rebel flags. Okay? They have a certain way they think, and they have a certain way they vote. And if they don't feel comfortable with you, they ain't going to vote for you. And we got to be honest about that. And
well, we got to be honest about who people are and why they came out last time too. A lot of that was Trump and all that stuff. And I do believe, and I voted for Stacey Abrams the first time because I was like, ooh wee. So you know, and it was crazy because recently somebody online was like, you oppose Stacey, and I was like, you dumb dummy. It's just like there was another dumb dummy just on YouTube right now talking about y'all stop supporting Frederick Jackson. I want to put you on blast. You so stupid. You can't find your way out of the rain. Like, y'all don't support reparations no more. We have a whole agenda supporting reparations and a transformative black agenda. You're just too dumb to understand. Like, I'm tired of these people, man, who just, like, can't find their way in out the rain. You can't find your way out of a potato sack. Like, what I supposed to do with
one talking.
Yeah, the main one talking. Well, what you did with potato sack man? Listen, it's right there if you can read. Reading is fundamental to life. But I agree with you that people don't. The people who don't. I'm born and raised in the South, so don't you can't play me with that. Like the South has changed. I don't believe it.
I tell people that same thing.
I live here. Like don't tell me that.
I tell people I'm more. I'm gonna tell you this. That this is how Southern I am, and you tell me if you're the same way. I'm more scared of a white liberal than I am a white conservative.
Because I know what the conservatives. I know what the conservatives gonna do. I know exactly what that conservatives gonna do.
I know what they're going to do. And I'm going to tell you this. For all those folks, the Bible told them folks, I'm going to tell y'all something. Remember, even Satan got sweet words. He ain't come and holler at you. He ain't come and talk down to you. He told you what you wanted to hear in order to get what he wanted. So who's doing that right now? You got to ask yourself, who's talking to me sweet to get something they want? And what are they getting out of me? And what am I getting for it? Like you always say.
And why am I not demanding what I want?
Exactly.
Like we are the bedrock of the. Thank you, fam. I'm gonna let some other calls get in real quick, and I appreciate you. It was a great call.
I'm gonna say this.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna say this real quick. I left you. I emailed you a remedy for that cough.
Oh, thank you.
Take care of yourself, woman.
Oh, thank you. I sure do appreciate you.
None too much. It's email.
I appreciate you because it's been a long road with this call. It's been a long road. Thank you, fam. I appreciate you. I appreciate you so much.
All right, no problem.
Yeah. I just, hey, people just say anything. And I agree. When we don't say nothing, we're like, well, he got a right. He don't have a right to be stupid. Who gave him a right to be just saying anything? So I'm going to 408. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, good afternoon, Vet. This is Christopher calling out of San Jose.
What's going on, Christopher? What's up with you?
Hey, I'm doing good. I just want to make 2 points. I'm actually at a basketball practice, but I had to run out because I had to get this call in real quick. It's funny that when you talk about Viola Davis and in terms of just claiming lineage that's not yours, it took me back to a time when I was at BSU. I went to UC Santa Barbara, and I graduated class of 2011. God, that was so far ago. And when we sat in there, I'll never forget this BSU meeting. This ADOS dude stood up and made this long-winded speech about how modern blacks are confused because we don't know what tribe we're from and this and that. And I remember walking out of that meeting, and it's funny when you think back now, it's like in those BSU meetings, right, there are a lot of Nigerians, I didn't know the difference at the time, a lot of Eritreans, Ethiopians, so on and so forth. And I wonder what they were thinking when they just sat there and watched this dude ramble on for about 10 minutes. And I've always thought to myself, like, my life wouldn't be any easier if I knew I was from whatever tribe. You know what I mean? I'm still here. I'm still broke. And so this notion of claiming someone else's lineage, I think maybe it offers psychological comfort, you would say, more so than anything?
I think so. Nobody likes to, I don't think our people like to view themselves as the oppressed person, even though that's the truth. That's just a historical fact. Like, and whereas the Jewish community rightfully just says never forget. Like, you did this to us. Don't forget it. And we're not going to let you forget it. We try to feed ourselves some kind of amnesia potion because we want to forget it. Not understanding that our power is in our perseverance. Like, that's the power. You don't have that other person's power may come from money and inheritance. Our power comes from something different. And you keep trying to like get the thing that is our power away from us. Instead of pulling from that and saying, I'm going to use that to push my way forward. We keep trying to, it's like trying to give away the gift. That is the gift. It wasn't good, but it was turned into something good because we persevered and we created and we were oppressed and then we're owed something. But if you can't look squarely into the mirror and see the ugliness of what happened to us and what we endured and what we made and the beauty of what we made inside of that, you can't see the fullness of us. Some people just want to see the beauty and not see the ugliness that kind of created that, right? Because out of the ugliest things comes the most beautiful things. Like, it's just kind of like how you create a diamond. So they don't want to see, like, the creation process. So you ever see, people say, wow, when a woman has a baby, it's messy and it's ugly. Yeah, but there's a beautiful child that comes out of it, right? And you don't want the messy. You just want the kid. But that's the process.
And again, this is Chris from Patreon. I know we got the book club next Thursday, correct?
Yep.
Is it next Thursday?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I did. So and I was hoping could you say your email, because I emailed the author of that book. I had some questions and I didn't think I would hear back from her. I got an email back from her today, and that book was not telling the whole truth because she sat here and told me examples of Chinese slave owners. She gave me names, dates. She gave me links to Chinese who fought on the side of the Confederacy. And it's crazy because none of that is mentioned in the book.
Well, wait a minute. You can hold on. Wait a minute. ydcarnell@gmail.com or editor@breakingbrown.com. Either one of those you can reach me. I want to hear about this now.
Oh, okay. Hey, so that I'm coaching basketball right now.
No, fine. No. Whatever you get a chance.
And I'm gonna get it to tonight. But I was surprised how honest she was. She was just like, oh yeah, there were some, and she gave me the names of the Chinese family. I knew that they were twins. And it's just, but it's funny because at the end of it, it's a pretty long email. She goes, well, let's not forget though, Asians were inspired by Black Panthers, and they did try to do some sort of coalition. It was like, no. I see what you try to do here. You try to do the compliment sandwich. Positive, negative, positive. We ain't doing that. So I'm gonna get that email tonight though.
Oh, appreciate it. No, take your time, fam. You can get it tomorrow if you need to, but just
all right,
I want to see it, but I appreciate you. Thank you, fam.
Okay, all right, then.
Oh my goodness, we didn't have that choice. Like we were the choice. We didn't have a choice in anything. We were it. Like it was fought over us and oppressing us. You got a choice whether to go north or south. That wasn't us. That goes to show you, people like, we just like the Chinese. No, we ain't. Y'all got to read that book. 347. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Oh, hi, Yvette. This is Sherry from New York.
Hey, Sherry, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I was listening to the question you said before, which one is worse, politicians or the actors? Mm-hmm. And for me, there's no doubt. It's definitely the politicians, and I'm going to tell you why.
Sure.
Actors are there to make money. They are there to entertain. Their loyalty is to whoever they signed the contract to. You know what I mean? Whatever company. You're a politician. You're here to represent me. I gave you my vote to represent me and to make my life better. And when you don't follow through and you don't do what you're supposed to do, you are deadly to me. I think our problem is, or one of our problems as politician and someone who is there to entertain us. We take them to be interchangeable. Like, both their words mean the same thing. And to a certain extent, it does, because a lot of our politicians have failed us. Mm-hmm. The difference is the job of the politician is not to fail me. The actor or actress or entertainer is to entertain me.
Let me push back for 1 second. Because I'm enjoying this conversation. So let me just push back for 1 second, right? Does the actor have another job, or the black actor, or the ADOS have another job that we don't talk about? In the sense that is their job partly social engineering to make it appear that we have arrived at a certain social and economic status that we have not arrived in? And even in their personal life, in terms of how they represent themselves, they're dishonest in a way that allows white people to be very confused about where we are, or not just confused, just believe that we have actually arrived. I'm asking, is their role just acting, or is it something else like social engineering? And I'll let you finish.
No, you're 100% correct about that they do play that role, whether it's in Hollywood or, in the music industry. They play that role, and it's like a contract they sign that's an invisible contract, but it's a part of the job, it's a part of the deal. However, I didn't vote for an actor. I know what they play, and I get the role that they play, but I voted for you as a politician. And for me, I know that's fake. That's Hollywood. Yeah. That's not real. My politician is supposed to deal with my real life. So when I talk to you about real life issues, I expect you to do something about those real life issues. When I talk to an actor, I'm going to talk to a singer, entertainer, whatever it is. I'm going to talk to you about whatever your project is, or I enjoyed it, or whatever. I don't have the expectation for you to change a law or do something that is going to change my life monumentally. I don't expect that.
That's
fair.
I
expect a good performance, and that's it. But you're right. They do sign this invisible contract to make you think that, oh, yeah, we have arrived to a place that we have not, and not the visuals that again. But I guess I'm expecting people to understand that's the visual. That's not real. Political life is supposed to be real. Like, you're supposed, for this vote, I'm voting you in for 4 years, 2 years, whatever it is. At the end of your term, I expect my life to be better. And so that's why I feel like the politician is much more deadly to me than the actor or actress. Maybe it's just me. Because for me, like, the actor or actress, they don't pass laws. Or they don't get laws passed. My politicians are supposed to do that.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally get it. No, you make a good case. They're both detrimental, but because you vote the politician in to do specific political tasks for you, they're more detrimental. That makes sense. That's a good argument.
Right. So that's all I want to say. I love you.
Thank you.
I love what you do. Please don't stop. No. And that's what I want to say. Have a good evening.
You too. You have a good one. I appreciate it. That. I mean, and that's a good comeback. Like, that was a good case to make. I appreciate it. I like a good case when people make a good case. I'm going to 612. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yes, my name. You hear me, Yvette?
I can hear you fine, fam. What's going on?
Hi, my name is Clifford. I'm from Minneapolis, and met you at the last conference.
Okay.
And I gotta say, I'm just calling in because I've never listened forever. Just calling in to say, like, I love everything you're doing. And one of the things you hit on, I caught part of it when you were having a conversation, is us not embracing who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when we had the last census, and that person asked me what I was, and I said black, and she was like, do you want to, what is that? I said ADOS.
Mm-hmm.
And this white woman was like, what's that? American Descendants of Slavery. It hit to the quick. She knew exactly what I was saying. There was no confusing it, and I loved it. Because what you have given me and Tone have given me in accepting what I am and loving what I am, I just thank you to death.
Oh, thank you, fam. I appreciate you.
That's really all I got to say. And I just love the work you're doing. It's a hard-ass road to climb.
You ain't telling me. And listen, the truth is that, like, you know, you said, you know, you just say how you love the term American descendants of slavery. There is no other term that encompasses, like,
there is none.
Slavery, we're American, that's what we come from.
The whole nonsense with this FBA and we're native, like, it doesn't matter. If y'all don't understand that we encompass, like, if you're calling yourself a black American, if you once called yourself an African American, your people were slaves. Like, I don't understand why you don't get, I don't understand why they don't get that. Like, it is the most encompassing.
I don't understand why you're embarrassed by that. I don't understand why you're embarrassed by that. I would say that, like, you get it, but you're embarrassed by it. But the person who should be embarrassed is the enslaver, not the descendant of the enslaved. Like, you got the embarrassment mixed up.
And you know what? And I feel bad for these people because I try to give them the information and I can understand where they're coming from, but I can't because the knowledge is out there. What you and Tone have given, I understand everybody sat in the school and all they heard was slaves and Martin Luther King. That's all you heard. But then to really, like, parse it down, I listened to the audiobook, the half that's never been told. I don't read that much because I ain't got the time to, but I listen to those audiobooks. And hearing that stuff and understanding, really breaking down what I already knew as a man, but really, like, having, like, the things you have given me are incredible.
Oh, thank you.
And the pride you've put in, that was already there, but, like, the fortifying it, the really understanding, the full understanding of what our people did, and the like you said, the strength. Like, there's pride in that. I will say it with my chest out. My little boys in the 3rd grade, they asked him what he was. He said, I'm ADOS.
That's what I'm talking about.
American Descendants of Slavery. I don't care. That's pride in my chest. I say it. So, and I love you for that.
I love you back. And all you need is a little kindling for a fire. You don't have to have no fire making machine, no flamethrower. You just need a little bit of kindling. Y'all know what I mean. But I appreciate you, fam. I'm gonna let a couple people get.
I appreciate. When is the next conference gonna be? Is there another conference?
Well, you know, we didn't. I put it up. It's up on the. I thought I retweeted it from there, but I must have forgot. But if y'all don't follow ADOS.org on Twitter, go follow. Because we're not going to do one this year because it was just too much. It's just too much because everybody in our org is volunteer. Nobody getting enough money. We're not paying out no salaries or nothing like that, right? So we're not doing one like normally it would be coming up in October. We're not doing one this year because we got to do the launch. Like, we've really tried to get this launch right. This launch of, you know, chapters nationwide and how we're going to like walk it out. And so we've tried to get this perfect. And the thing is, it's hard to do that and then do a conference at the same time. Like, a conference is a really big deal. You got contracts to sign. You got people to fly. So we said, listen, if we can only do one of these, and we gotta get this rollout, right? We said, listen, we'll do the conference in 2023, but we got to get this rollout right. So no, and it's up on. If you all didn't see it, it's up on. If you all don't follow ADOS.org on Twitter, go follow that because all of those kind of updates will be up, always up on that Twitter account. Like, we'll always post them there first.
On Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm not on Twitter, but I'll get on there just for that because, it's like I said, I just got to.
Wait till you're not on there. If you type in ADOS.org.
The work you guys have done is just amazing.
Well, I appreciate you, fam, and I thank you for it. But yeah, that's what happened with that. It wasn't. We didn't even have the time. It was just like we're just really trying to get, because you know we got elections, we got a lot of stuff coming up, and we got to get in the game, and we're just trying to do everything right and kind of have something that nobody else has in terms of kind of dotting our I's and crossing our T's. So we've been trying to do it right.
And you know, and I know I was just about to sound like I was in it, but like the fact that this, just us being a capturing class and having the nonsense that you have to deal with, the FBA nonsense. I'm just going to speak real because it's nonsense. Like, and to go and you look at, like, I just dinked around and went to the FBA page. They actually have a page. And you know what they're doing? Selling shit.
Oh, yeah.
You know what yours does? Have nothing but information. I don't even understand how people don't get that they're missing the boat because they don't want to admit what we were.
Yeah, they don't want to.
And
the thing is,
our lineage.
And the thing is about that page, fam. It's a ClickFunnels page. Like, if you all don't know what ClickFunnels is, go look up a ClickFunnels page. It's a page that's there to, like, have copy and sell you stuff once you get there. But it's not for me to teach people what a ClickFunnels page is, fam. But I appreciate you. I'm gonna get to, but I appreciate you, fam. But, like, listen, all the updates we put them up on that, and I appreciate you, fam. I love you back.
I love you. All right, have a good one.
You have a good one too, fam. Yeah, I don't know. Like, this is the page is just like not for politics. It's just like, you do all the politics out there by yourselves. Figure it out. And I'm gonna do another GoFundMe. You know, so I'm not here though to try to get people to see that the sky is blue, child. I got other stuff to do. You can stay outside all day and be like, y'all see the sky is blue, and people walking around saying it's orange. Go live your day and do what you gotta do with your life. Everybody has a life's mission, goal, whatever. You can't be bothered with all that. I'm going down to 360. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, this is Antoine from Seattle, giving you a call.
Hey, Antoine, what's going on?
Give my what was on my mind, and just a culmination of what you were saying tonight. And some things struck a chord with me, and I had a idea that's kind of a crossover from what Tone Talks was saying. I think yesterday or the day before, but it was about lineage, and then will there ever be in the future a way? Because it seems to me the one of the main issues why ADOS can't come together in America, like why we can't actually come together and advocate for ourselves, is because there seems to be too many people, I mean, traitors, for lack of better words, who are very adept at camouflaging themselves with our struggle, as other groups try to hitchhike to our history in this country and then use that as a stepping stone to become American, where maybe there should be some sort of lineage loyalty test, like how before you join an organization, the FBI say, hey, they give you a psychological evaluation. Well, maybe there should be something akin to that for our community, and maybe even as a condition on getting reparations itself when the bill eventually becomes down. Because what's the point of giving someone reparations who, even though they're look like us and they might share some common, history with us, but they're not anchored in that lineage? And like Tone Talk said something the other day where it's like people going in to see the Woman King come out feeling empowered, whereas it's a completely fictitious work, meaning that they have they're empty vessels, right? That they can be filled and removed at any given point. And then if you are trying to say that the boycott the Woman King is not centered in lineage, it's centered in something else, women, rights or women history, feminism, or what have you, it's like you don't have a concept of lineage. So then, like, what are you really to us? You're not really family. So, like, that was kind of like what I was thinking about. A lineage loyalty test, like a psychological evaluation.
I agree.
I agree. Too many traitors, and I agree.
I agree, but I think that's a cultural thing, right? See, I don't think that's just a test, because I think people can figure out the test. I think there is no cultural. The way you kind of protect something culturally is that there has to be sort of like a reinforcement. Like if you get in a room, if you're at a barbecue and you say something that's anti-ADOS lineage and that's pro-grifter or whatever the case may be, people are going to be like, no, you can't be here. You can't be here with that. Like, you can't walk into a dinner with a bunch of, Jewish people and say something anti-Jewish and say, well, maybe the Nazis had a point. Because you're a horrible person. And everybody around you realizes that you're horrible. And you can't be here because you're a traitor. We will have somebody in our midst, and there's no cultural kind of condemnation on what they're doing. We'll just say, well, they have a right to their own opinion. Well, they have a right to grift. Well, they have a right to, shout out, protest, and never show up, right? And then still claim, to be the biggest man or soldier around. Like, we don't have any kind of cultural condemnation. That's a cultural thing. right? There are cultural standards if you are a group that you are supposed to hold. And part of the problem that we have is that we have allowed people to just, well, everybody gets to do whatever they want to do. Well, that's not good in terms of cohesion, in terms of us moving as a group. It doesn't work that way. But we have allowed it for far too long. So I'm going to let you go, fam. But what I believe, I don't believe it's as much of a test. Appreciate you calling in, family. I got a bunch of calls on the line, so I'm going to try to get to them. But I don't think it's much of a test as much of we have to figure out as a group, what do our cultural standards look like? Right? What kind of standards do we need to have as a group and as a community? We have to figure that out. And you don't figure that out by just allowing everything. Like, would you allow everybody in your house? Well, you can come in. Well, I know you stink and you got some kind of flakes or kind of scabs. Well, no, well, you cussing and like a and my kids here, but everybody can come in. You don't allow it. You don't even allow, if you protect yourself, you don't even condone all kinds of thoughts coming into your mind. Like if a real bad thought, you'd be like, oh, what are you doing here? Oh, well, I'm not going to pay no attention. I got to go on. I got to be positive. I'm not going to think. Like, but in our community, we don't even allow our minds to be polluted like that. But in our community, we allow whatever kind of pollution that undermines our goals and values as a group to come in. And we say, well, they have a right to be as toxic as they want to be. And not understand that erodes everything that we are. And it's a problem. So I agree with that part. 267, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
How you doing? This is Keon from Philly.
Hey, Keon, what's going on?
So I kind of have what'd you say?
I said, what's going on, Keon?
Oh, what's up? So I kind of have like a different topic. So it's this guy that I know. He talks about like changing like your citizenship status and more like being Moor or Moorish. So I want to know like your opinion on that because there's a lot of videos I see with the Moor people, how they get like tax breaks and things of that nature. So like, why aren't we going in that direction to get more power and organization?
Thank you, fam. I'll ask it. I'll let you go. I'll answer that though. They're gonna get arrested. I'm sorry. They just like those sovereign society people. Like and listen, America's not gonna give you no tax break for deciding you are more or whatever. As all feds hat wearing people around the country. You're not gonna get no power from that. It just makes you feel powerful. It's like playing dress up. You get to wear a little hat. Everybody gonna be mad at me. Yvette said something bad about it. Listen, no. Stop going for all this other stuff. Well, we can be Moors and we can squat at these houses or whatever, and they can't get. We can be sovereign citizens and we can be whiz engines. We can be. Stop it. We are American descendants of slavery. America owes us a debt. We built the country. We made an enormous contribution, and as reward, we have been oppressed. Focus on that. Don't try to be none of this other stuff that don't make no kind of sense. You're just running. Because what it means is just running. What's that Cat Williams joke? We asked his kid, what you doing? Running? 228, I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yeah.
Don't come here with no fez hat on.
Yes. Yes.
Turn your background down, fam. Turn your background down. There you go.
How you doing this?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Oh, wow. I am beautiful. Glad to hear you addressing our culture issue. I just wanted to add to the conversation, politicians or the entertainers. We voted them in. The unfortunate thing that you're showing us through your approach is the system, what we're expecting from the system and how we're approaching it. So, though you go to an entertainment facility and expect to be entertained, you also expect not to be drugged through some falsehood. They send your mind on crazy trips. So, I would definitely give them a tie on who's more dominant in terms of having a
so they're a tie in your mind. It's not one of their tie. Okay.
Right. There's no winner. There's no good guys in this.
And I think it's only a question of who's most detrimental. I don't think there are any good guys. Like I say, you can use people. You can use them with what you need to use them for. But I don't think there are any. I'm not saying that all politicians are awful or nothing like that. But I'm just saying, like, the system awash with money and politics. and then you have entertainers who have to do what they have to do to get where they have to go, right? I think you have it's a hodgepodge, there's a potential for some stuff. So yeah,
and,
I get it.
In terms of foreign policy, also, entertainment plays a dangerous role in forming people's public opinion too. It's crazy how we could play entertainment rap songs that talk about violence to us all day long on public airways, and it's ignored. But we know we can't make violent songs about historical events that took place among Jewish people and make it through the weekend without having some issue. So yeah, it's definitely more than entertainment. So
okay. All right, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you for calling in. Ma'am. I appreciate you. Yeah. I'm going to 215. 215, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, this is Basil. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Good. I actually, hold on, I'm having a problem. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, fam.
Okay, good. So I was going to make 2 points, but first I wanted to say something about the Moors real quick. Those are excuses not to admit you're black, in my opinion.
Okay, all right. I was about to say, he's going to come on here with it. Okay, go on.
Right, but, and like you said, if we all agreed that we were black and used that power to obtain power and so forth, we'd be a lot better off than going into these splinter groups of a bunch of people. And also a lot of those people, they check out. They don't want to fight for blacks. They want to be Moors or a couple of other things and be in their cubby
They want to wear a feather. You want to wear a feather so bad.
Yeah.
Let me stop. I'm sorry.
Huh?
I said they want to wear a feather, but I'm acting up. Go on, fam. I'm sorry.
And the second thing I wanted to say, because I really agree with, this has been my pet peeve for a couple of years, and I've been trying to figure out how to do this, and it's odd that I tuned in while you were having this conversation. Our biggest problem, the biggest trick that they did on us is have us afraid to be black, or ashamed to be black, or ashamed that our families were slaves. That was the most significant thing I think they did that controls everything about us today. Our behaviors, our culture, who we marry, who we don't marry, our politics. If we embrace the fact that we built this nation, that America would be nothing without us.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, personally, when we walk down the street, white America should walk up to us and say, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
And we should have that mindset. And if we could get to that place, then we'd definitely be more powerful and have more influence and control over not only our culture, but the politics of the day and so forth.
I agree. You got to embrace who you are. You can't make up stuff. Like, real life is not imagination. Imagination is fiction. I love creative writing, but real life is real life. So I want to thank you, fam, for that call.
Right. You're welcome. Do you remember when we all were walking around saying we were half Indian?
I never said that.
I didn't say it either, but it used to burn my bridges. But thank you for your time.
No, thank you.
And you have a fantastic evening.
You too. I appreciate it. Yeah, I just, child. You said no Indian in me, child. They took it to the next level. 508. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind? I want a feather in my hat.
Yvette, it's McCullough.
Hey, what's going on with you?
I had mentioned organic, and I felt kind of called out, but I meant it in the sense that we organically chose you. You know
no. I wasn't talking about you.
And
no.
I didn't use it in the right sense. But
no, I wasn't talking about you.
We kicked together organically.
No.
And that's how the organization was formed.
No. I wasn't talking about you. There was a comment made online, Twitter today, where somebody thought that just like organizing as a group should be organic. No. I agree with you that this movement has been organic. I was referring. I was referring to something that happened earlier today.
I wrote that a few times.
Huh?
And I didn't mean it like that.
No.
Organic group. We came together and we chose you.
Oh, I agree. No, I agree that movements should organically come together and coalesce. once they do coalesce, now we have to figure out what is our strategies or whatever. So I was speaking to something that happened earlier today where people would just kind of be like, there shouldn't be no strategies. Once you come together, everybody should just spontaneously combust like watermelon seeds or something. But no, I didn't see your comment. So I know I wasn't talking about you, but I agree that like what happens in terms of how people get chosen or whatever shouldn't be because they get chosen by the media or they get chosen by by politicians or the government. They should rise up organically within their community. So I agree with you on that.
It was the message. It was the message, Yvette, and you and Tone just drove it home and made us understand we got to pull this together. So, we're here. The gate's up and, we're doing this thing.
Absolutely.
And I absolutely agree about my whole thing about that Woman King thing was, it is the history horrible as it's unfolding more and more and more and more. But it was about how people do learn from TV. Like, I remember going to Universal Studios and they were telling the story about how, people were running up to these actors and calling them by their character names. And like my own dad, learned from like the Little Rascals, I think. So kids jumping off roofs with Mary Poppins umbrellas. So people form ideas from movies, and for them to manipulate that and to have it be done by Maria Bello, it blew me away.
And for Viola Davis to tell people, if you don't support this movie, you're not going to get another black lead or a black female lead. Listen, that's not.
That hurts so bad.
That's not my goal.
I can't even believe Viola. She dug in so deep that she can't come back from that. I just don't not with me.
That was a lot. Well, you're not gonna get. That's not my goal. My goal is community uplift, not individual uplift. Anyway,
John Boyega professes his love for black women only 2 days before the thing airs, right?
Yeah, that's not what I heard anyway, child. He's making up a whole love life, but child. So I date black women only, child. All right. I'm gonna let you have that life.
But anyway, I'm glad I saw because I was worried because I kept saying organic, but that's all I meant. I
didn't take it that. No. Sure. Absolutely, fam. No. I didn't even see your comment. I didn't even see your comment. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much, as usual. Bye-bye. Have a good night, fam. No, I didn't even see that. I'm going to my last call of the night. I think everybody called in tonight. I swear I never know what to make of things. People call in, everybody, their mama call in one night, and then the other night, I don't know what to make. So, sorry to everybody, we're not going to get to it. 443, I'm coming to you, 443. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Vet, this is Trayvon from Baltimore. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Yeah, I can't complain. Thank you for the show. I appreciate it. I just wanted to say that I really appreciate that you pointed out Hamilton because I feel like, at least for the 21st century, it's one of the worst media products I think we've ever had to endure.
True.
And we're still, I feel like we're enduring a Hamilton effect with all this new stuff where they try to basically sell us symbols of ourselves to black people, but we're empowering, the people that disrespected us and put us in the position we're in.
That's true. And they had everybody at Hamilton. You remember it was Obama. Everybody is with Hamilton, and they was rapping through the stuff like it was just oh my goodness. But go on, fam. I'm sorry. I'll let you.
Yeah, it's really an abomination. And I had this argument with my own friends because they like it, and I'm just like, I don't think if there was a play called Goebbels and, the Jewish people played the Nazis and it was about, honor and strength of Germany, and they just, all the Jewish people were pushed to the background and they were just cleaning the background throughout the play. I'm pretty sure that people would get the idea.
Yeah, and rightfully so.
You got race and all that. But, yeah, I feel like if we had there wasn't no 96 Telecoms Act, there would be black media that could give more criticism.
To push back against that.
Like Ismail Reed play where he puts, what's his name, Lin-Manuel on trial, basically. I feel like we would have not only more coverage, but more, like, critical art pieces to push back against that, at least.
I agree with you, fam.
That's all I want.
But I think that was the intention of the Telecom Act, to make sure that we didn't have those mechanisms to push it back. Because what they realize is that, okay, they're using media. Okay, they're using organizations. We'll start filling those organizations with money, and now the organizations that they have will be beholden to us. Okay, they really have some really good leaders. Okay, we'll strike them down with a bullet. And those that we can't kill with a bullet, we will just tear down their reputation, whatever have you. So I think they have figured out different ways to kind of make sure that we don't have the power that we need to do certain things. And we have been willfully ignorant in terms of how we respond to the way white supremacists and white supremacist institutions have responded to us. So we have to get smarter. Quick, fast, in a hurry. So thank you, fam. I appreciate the call. I absolutely appreciate it.
Thank you.
You have a good night. I want to thank everybody for calling. It was a great night of call-in shows. You know, I appreciate it, except for the more question. I don't know why, but we're going to be more. I just think you should go be a more and let me know how it turns out. Let me know if you get your reparations, a better job, you get a bunch of land. Let me know how that turns out, okay? I want to thank everybody for calling in. Please, 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 get your libations, get whatever you need to good old nice thing of chamomile tea with some of that, what's the name of that honey? There's a name for that honey that kind of makes you sleepy. I got some of it recently. But get you some of that and get yourself to bed. And I will talk to you all next time. Tomorrow we do have a Thursday show, but remember I postponed the part 2 of the book club, The Good Immigrants. I postponed that to next Thursday. So remember, Patreons, if you come in tomorrow for the Patreon show, just remember that tomorrow will not be the book club part 2 show. The book club part 2 we postponed from a week from tomorrow, so just keep that in mind. But I will see you all tomorrow for a show. It just won't be the book club show tomorrow. So keep it easy breezy, fam. I will talk to you all later. Take care of yourselves. Don't bother nobody, and don't let nobody bother you.